The clock ticked past midnight, rain lashed against the windows. I snuggled deeper under the covers. It was a night for warm blankets and peaceful dreams, or so I thought. A low hum vibrated in the air. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I tried to ignore it, pulling the blanket over my head, but the humming grew louder, morphing into a high-pitched whine. My eyes snapped open. My heart pounded in my chest. Why did I feel so strange? Like something was terribly wrong? Panic seized me. I couldn't move. My arms felt heavy, like lead weights pinning them down. I tried to call out, but my voice was gone. No sound escaped my lips. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through me. I was awake, but my body wouldn't respond. It was like being buried alive, my thoughts racing while my body remained frozen. What was happening to me? I strained to move even a finger, a toe, anything. But the paralysis held me captive. This was more than just a bad dream. Something was very wrong. Then I saw it, a shadow darker than the night itself, standing at the bedroom door. In the periphery of my vision, a dark form coalesced. It was as if the darkness itself had taken shape, a figure emerging from the void. It moved closer, growing larger with every passing second. The shadow seemed to stretch and expand, filling the room with an oppressive presence. My blood ran cold. The shadow had no discernible features, just a mass of darkness that seemed to absorb all light. It was as if it was feeding on the very essence of the room, growing stronger and more menacing. It oozed across the floor, a living nightmare. The way it moved was unnatural, almost liquid, yet it held a form that was unmistakably sinister. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything but lie there helpless. My body was frozen in fear, every muscle locked in place as if the shadow had already claimed me. As it neared, a sense of dread washed over me. It was a primal fear, one that reached deep into my soul and gripped my very being. An unseen force pressed down on my chest, stealing my breath. It felt like an invisible hand was squeezing the life out of me, making it impossible to move or cry out for help. The air grew thick and heavy, suffocating me. Each breath was a struggle, the weight of the darkness pressing down on me, making it feel as though I was drowning in a sea of shadows. My eyes widened in terror, and my hands clutched the bedsheets tightly. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing like a drum in the silence of the room. The shadow loomed over the bed, its presence overwhelming. It stood there, a silent sentinel of fear, watching me with an intensity that pierced through the darkness. I closed my eyes tightly, hoping that when I opened them, the nightmare would be gone. But the darkness remained, and the shadow was still there, an inescapable horror. Slowly the shadow began to retreat, and the light started to return to the room. The oppressive weight lifted, and I could finally breathe again, though the fear lingered. I sat up in bed, my body trembling, and looked around the room cautiously. The shadow was gone, but the memory of its presence remained, a haunting reminder of the terror I had faced. Desperation clawed at me. I had to fight back. I thrashed against the invisible bonds, but it was no use. The paralysis held me fast. My heart hammered in my chest, a frantic drum against my ribs. Fear, raw and primal, surged through me. The shadow loomed closer, its presence a suffocating weight. I squeezed my eyes shut, but it made no difference. The feeling of its approach, of its cold, malevolent presence, only intensified. This was a nightmare come to life, and I was trapped within its grip. Suddenly it stopped. The pressure on my chest lifted. The shadow retreated, dissolving back into the darkness. Relief, sweet and fleeting, washed over me. I gasped for air, my lungs burning. Then, just as quickly as it had stopped, the humming returned. The high-pitched whine reverberated in my ears, growing louder with each passing second, and then it hit me. The realization slammed into me like a physical blow. This wasn't the first time. I had been here before, trapped in this terrifying loop of paralysis and fear. Each time the shadow retreated, the relief was always short-lived. It felt like a fleeting moment of peace, a brief respite from the overwhelming darkness that seemed to consume everything. The shadow would pull back, and for a heartbeat I could breathe again, but deep down I knew it was only a matter of time before it returned, bringing with it the same suffocating dread. Each time the humming returned, signaling the start of the cycle anew. The sound was low and persistent, like a distant echo that grew louder with each passing second. It was a reminder that the nightmare was far from over, that the cycle of fear and relief was an endless loop. The humming would start softly, almost imperceptibly, and then it would build, filling my mind with its relentless drone. I was trapped, condemned to relive this nightmare forever. The walls seemed to close in around me, the darkness pressing in from all sides. My heart raced, my breath quickened, and I felt the weight of despair settle over me. It was as if I was caught in a never-ending spiral with no way out, no escape from the terror that gripped me. But then a thought pierced through the terror. It was like a beacon of light in the midst of the darkness, a glimmer of hope that cut through the fear. It was a small, almost insignificant thought, but it was enough to break the cycle, to give me a moment of clarity, a memory, faint but insistent. Focus on your breath. The words echoed in my mind, a distant voice from a time long past. It was a simple piece of advice, but in that moment it felt like a lifeline. I clung to it, desperate for anything that could help me break free from the nightmare. Someone somewhere had once told me that. I couldn't remember who it was or when they had said it, but the memory was clear. Focus on your breath. It was a mantra, a way to ground myself in the present, to find a moment of peace amidst the chaos. I clung to that thought, a lifeline in a sea of fear. It was the only thing that felt real, the only thing that could anchor me in the present. I held on to it with all my strength, refusing to let go, even as the darkness threatened to pull me under. I focused on the feeling of my chest rising and falling, the air moving in and out of my lungs. Each breath was a reminder that I was still here, still alive. It was a small victory, but in that moment it felt monumental. The simple act of breathing became a source of strength, a way to push back against the fear. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Each breath, each moment of calm, was a step towards reclaiming my life from the darkness. It was a reminder that even in the midst of the nightmare, there was still hope, still a chance to find peace. And that glimmer of hope was enough to keep me going, to give me the strength to face whatever came next. Slowly, painstakingly, I regained control. The humming faded, replaced by the sound of my own ragged breathing. The pressure on my chest lifted, the invisible weight dissipating like smoke. Finally, I could move. I gasped, sucking in deep lungfuls of air. My body felt weak, drained, but I was free. The nightmare was over. As the first rays of dawn peeked through the window, I lay there, trembling. The room was no longer a prison, but a sanctuary. I was safe. The experience left an indelible mark. It was as if a part of me had been etched with a scar that would never fully heal. The days that followed were a blur of emotions, a whirlwind of thoughts that I couldn't quite grasp. The fear might have receded, but the memory lingered, a chilling reminder of my helplessness. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still see the shadows that haunted me, the echoes of my own screams reverberating in my mind. Sleep, once a source of comfort, now held a new terror. The nights were long and restless, filled with nightmares that seemed all too real. I would wake up in a cold sweat, my heart racing, my mind unable to escape the grip of fear. But something else remained too. Amidst the fear and the anxiety, there was a newfound clarity, a deeper understanding of my own resilience, a newfound appreciation for the simple act of breathing, for the feeling of my chest rising and falling. Each breath was a reminder that I was still here, still fighting, still alive. For the feeling of my chest rising and falling, it was a small yet profound reminder of my own strength, of my ability to endure, and a strange, unsettling awareness of the darkness that lurks at the edge of our waking world. It was as if I had glimpsed into a realm that most people never see, a place where fear and reality intertwine. The experience had changed me, left me shaken. I could see it in my own reflection in the way my eyes seemed to hold a deeper, more haunted look. But there was also a spark, a glimmer of something stronger, and though the fear remained, so did a flicker of defiance. I was determined not to let this experience define me, to rise above the shadows that sought to consume me. I had stared into the abyss and emerged, forever altered. The journey had been harrowing, but it had also been a testament to my own strength, my own will to survive. The loop was broken, but the memory, like a shadow, remained. It was a part of me now, a constant reminder of the darkness I had faced and the light I had found within myself.